Hello there, Minnesota Vikings fans. As always, I thank you for listening to the Purple People podcast. My name is Kyle West. I am accompanied by the Dark Knight himself. He's not really dark or a knight, but
No.
Batman is my background, and that's what I went with. His name is Adam Carlson.
I think I'll be knighted one of these days. I think I'm closer to what I have on my background. I've got Godzilla fighting the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. So
Awesome. I'm going to see Godzilla tomorrow, and I am excited.
I'm going Saturday, and I'm hoping that the Vikings defense gets to be a little bit like Godzilla and can just terrorize other teams. So that's what I'm hoping.
I think they're going there. I think they're headed that way.
But I'd like to thank everyone for listening and remind them that they are listening to the Purple People podcast. This is episode number 100.
Whoa!
I went back.
100.
Yeah.
Wow.
I went back to the old school, how I was doing horror-themed names for all of our movies and TV shows and episode titles. So I went with 100 Bloody Acres. If you haven't seen it, it's a pretty good movie.
I haven't. I will have to look that one up.
So let's go into the quick hits, because I do love quick hits. But first, let's talk about our primary focus on this show. We're going to go through our quick hits. We're going to talk about the undrafted free agents. Probably go back and talk a little bit more about one of the quick hits afterwards, because one's kind of a big deal.
Yeah, kind of a big deal.
So let's get rolling and let's go right into this. The first one, let's start with the sad. Let's get the bad stuff out of the way right away. The Vikings had to release several players, including running back Bradley Randall.
Oh.
I didn't care for that one. That one made me sad. Linebacker Terrell Manning. When you got a former Packer on the roster, it doesn't hurt so bad when they get released.
No, it doesn't.
And linebacker Simone Lawrence. So those were the three guys that were cut to make room for all undrafted free agents and all the draft picks.
Mm-hmm.
Another guy that was released, cleared waivers, and placed on IR was Josh Samuda. If you remember him, he suffered that pretty wicked leg injury.
Yeah,
and
the ankle. It was his ankle that was hanging off to the side. That was something else.
It was pretty gross. It was pretty gross. And I'm glad to see that he cleared waivers, made it to IR, and the Vikings can try to have him recover and come back and compete next year. So I'm glad to see that happen.
Mm-hmm. We had to talk just very, very briefly about how didn't it stink to see Bradley Randall get cut at this stage and not even get a chance to try to make the team?
You know, we had a couple listeners actually that were really interested about what we had to say about third-round draft pick McKinnon compared to Bradley Randall. Because the day after we recorded that, and I think it's like 20 minutes before we got it up on YouTube, that was when Bradley Randall was released. So our timing on that wasn't very good.
It wasn't.
But either way, it was an interesting conversation and something that I think was relevant. And
I still actually do stand by thinking that Bradley Randall is more of a complete player in terms of
at this
stage of the game. Not saying that the new guy McKinnon won't be and can't be, but I would have liked to have seen them battle it out during training camp to really see who was the better of the two.
I have a quick hit down, but I think it's wrong.
Oh? Well, let's roll with it, and we'll see.
I'm going to correct it right now because I don't think this is correct. The Vikings have signed all of their draft picks this year, except Scott Creighton, Anton Exum, and I have David Yankee written down, but that is not correct.
I have David Yankee signed.
The correct is Jerick McKinnon. He's the other one that has not signed. It is the 2 third-round draft picks and Anton Exum in the 6th. Those are the 3 gentlemen that were not signed. My notes were incorrect.
Wow. No, team's doing pretty good on getting their rookies.
A lot faster than usual.
Oh, yeah. New CBA's helped out big time, but I love the fact that they've got Barr and Bridgewater solidified. They're under contract. They're ready to go.
And did you see these reasonable cap-friendly contracts that even the first-rounders are coming out with recently?
New CBA.
It's so nice.
It's great. It's really great.
The Vikings signed former linebacker from the Bears, Dom DeCiso.
Mm-hmm.
Fun name to say. I like
I
it.
do too. Our collection of linebackers continues.
Well, like we've said many, many times, this Zimmer offense and defense is going to be all about competition.
Mm-hmm.
Bring people in. Two guys that won't be a part of that competition are undrafted free agents Connor Bofelli and Travis Partridge. I'm assuming they did not impress much in the rookie mini camps because they were waived.
Yeah. Although it would have been fun to call for the Partridge family to at least give him that nickname. I wish them the best of luck in the future.
Absolutely.
Don't know a single thing about either of them. Let's be perfectly frank. We didn't need Travis Partridge on the team at all with having Castle and Bridgewater and Ponder and yeah.
Now it's already pretty crowded enough. He had really no chance of making the roster, but still, it's nice to have some camp arms there, and I'm sure that they'll do something to have that
I'm still
happen.
holding out for McLeod Bethel Thompson to end back up in purple. It'll happen.
It'd be nice. I like him. I'm going to jump over to my last one before I go over to this one. So let's talk about the Vikings signing Mike Zimmer.
Yeah. No, not that Mike Zimmer, Adam. Another Mike Zimmer.
Yeah, they have two now. They're starting a collection. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure what it is, but...
When in Rome.
Yeah, this Mike Zimmer went to the same school as the other Mike Zimmer, but it has been made apparent that they are not related from every media source I've seen. I've yet to see documentation on this, but...
Yeah, I'm going to need a birth certificate.
I'll take their word for it. And now for the big news.
But he forgot to mention that Mike Zimmer is a linebacker. Did we mention?
Sure. We can mention that, I suppose.
Yeah, he's a not Coach Mike Zimmer, but...
He might linebacker, too, who knows?
It's confusing, is it not? We have 3 Zimmers on the team. Did you know that? So Mike Zimmer's son works for the Vikings as well, too. Let's move on from this topic.
Yeah, let's talk about the big one.
Yeah.
Super Bowl 52, hosted in Minnesota in 2018.
Woo!
Now, we knew that when the Vikings built that stadium, that Minnesota was going to be in the running for a Super Bowl sooner rather than later. I wasn't expecting it this soon, 2018. I don't know what they said in those meetings down in Georgia, but man, whatever they did to sell that committee on this Super Bowl in Minnesota, they must have done one hell of a job because
I'll tell you what they said.
It's fantastic.
They said that the Minnesota Vikings fought for damn near 10 years, tooth and nail through every obstacle possible to get this stadium built and stayed in Minnesota. And they basically had to send Roger Goodell down in the 11th hour to convince them, and I'm talking about the state, to get this passed. And part of getting this passed was the promise of bringing in a Super Bowl and all the revenue and all the media attention that's going to come with it, that's going to come to the Twin Cities. And to me, and this is just my opinion, but I think it would have been a slap in the face to turn right around and say, well, we're going to go ahead and give it to New Orleans in 2018, who has hosted it something like 10 times. Or we're going to give it to Indianapolis, who just had one. It's like, no, Minnesota is building a state-of-the-art facility like nothing else. First,
see, I think that's one of the reasons why they could have been denied, because that stadium isn't established. It's still a work in progress, and right now they're putting a lot of their chips on this building, this massive stadium, this huge project, getting completed and not having a lot of problems. Although I'm really excited about it, I'll be honest, I'm starting to save my money already because I really want to go to this. Super Bowl weekend is more than just one game. It's all the events and everything. Man, it would be cool to have the Vikings in that game in Minnesota. I honestly would go nuts.
It's a sign of faith by them saying that you're going to have the stadium up and functioning and at Super Bowl standards by 2018. That's a tall task, but I believe that they will get it done, and it will be it'll be a lot of fun, and it puts.
They're going to sell a record number of Metro cards, that's for
Yeah,
sure.
that is for sure. But it plays in good, I think, because man, you're bringing it into the city that's got the Mall of America right next close to it. That's a good thing for people to come up and
Excellent
visit.
music scene, lots of art. It's really a great community. And for people that are worried about the weather, honestly, the most weather they're going to get is between the stadium door and the door from the shuttle. That's about it.
Everyone up that way, for people. Of course, everyone listening to this is, Minnesota fans, but
or at least probably aware of what it's like.
Aware of what it's like, but I mean, Minnesota nice is a term that we all get used to, but it's a real thing.
Yeah.
Like you go up there and everyone is just friendly, and it's just if you've never been to the Twin Cities, I really suggest it. And the Vikings fans are just fantastic, and I am really pleased to see that they got the nod. And wasn't it just great that we beat out New Orleans? That's a little bit of icing.
If the new stadium isn't enough for fans to want to come and check out the new check out the Minneapolis area, there's the shopping attractions, there's everything like that. There's no reason to come on up and not check out one of the most interesting teams in the league. Maybe they might not have won the most Super Bowl championships, but man, there's a lot of history with this Minnesota Vikings team.
Yeah, we've got a lot of great history. I'm really excited, and this is just kind of general stadium talk, but just the idea of them doing the expanded Vikings Ring of Honor with all the different memorabilia, and I could spend hours upon hours going through and just looking at stuff that relates back to, Bud Grant and Chris Carter and John Randall and all those guys, and I'm just excited to see what they put together for the, we've got a crazy amount of Hall of Famers and just all the history that comes with this team, and that's going to be a lot of fun to see.
Yeah, Minnesota hasn't hosted a Super Bowl since Super Bowl 26.
Which was what?
When the Washington Redskins beat the Buffalo Bills. And I am very, very proud to say
Was that the Super Bowl with...
that is no notes.
Was that the Super Bowl with... what was the quarterback's name for the Redskins? Doug?
Sure.
Doug, I shouldn't have went here because I don't remember his name. I have to look it up. But
all right, but let's go into this. Let's talk about some of these undrafted free agents, because there's some that are actually really interesting. Let's start out with tight end A.C. Leonard from Tennessee State. This is a guy that probably could have gone probably in somewhere between the 5th to the 7th round. Instead, he goes undrafted. He really is a really good camp body. They assigned him the number, number 89.
Oh, so John Carlson. You can convert your John Carlson jerseys over.
No. The name Carlson isn't coming up.
Unless your name is Adam Carlson, then you can keep the jersey. I heard that he flashed during their first rookie practices that they had. Now, keep that into perspective, but it's always good, even if we're talking early, to see players start to flash on the field and show potential.
And we are talking competition, even if he's going after guys like a Chase Baker, Kyle Rudolph, Red Ellison. There's competition at the tight end position, don't get me wrong, but A.C. Leonard is one of those guys that will push these guys. So it'll be fun to watch.
In today's NFL, you can never have enough tight ends.
Absolutely. Wide receiver is one area where a lot of fans think that the Vikings should have gone in the draft.
Yeah, I don't agree with that. I think we're pretty... I'm
saying a lot of Vikings fans, but...
I think we're
not
pretty set. But anyway.
But the Vikings brought in 3 wide receivers. Kane Coulter from Northwestern, Eric Laura from Eastern Illinois, and Dante Foster from Ohio. The one name of those 3 to keep your eye on is Eric Laura. Laura was a go-to guy at Eastern Illinois. He is a guy that was relied upon to be a number 1 in their system. He's coming into a Minnesota system that's brand new and fresh. He could be a guy to keep your eye on in training camp, because he really could be one of those guys that takes the spotlight and shines as an undrafted free agent.
I like that. I like that, Adam. You sold me on a player that I previously knew nothing about. That is why you should listen to the Purple People podcast each and every week.
Eric Laura, I'm telling you. Pretty good guy.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Up next, let's talk about some offensive linemen.
Ooh, okay.
Center Zach Kieran from Toledo. If he can be a long snapper, he might have a shot, because right now I have no idea who the Vikings long snapper is as their backup. No idea.
Previously, it was Jared Allen.
Now I don't know.
I don't know either.
But Zach Kieran will come in. I'm assuming that he will mostly be a camp body.
Mm-hmm.
That'll try to push to make the roster of the practice squad, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. That's how you get your foot in the door in the NFL.
Yep.
Then you can go on and make your impressions, try to impress other teams on tape or impress your own organization to move up. This is where these guys get started and where stars are made. There's plenty of undrafted free agents that go on to become super even mega stars in the NFL.
Did you ever hear of a guy called John Randall?
I have. How about Victor Cruz? Have you heard of that guy?
Victor Cruz is pretty good too. So yeah, don't poo-poo the undrafted guys. I just said poo-poo.
You did. The Vikings brought in 3 offensive tackles. Matt Hall from Belhaven, Pierce Burton from Mississippi, and a mountain of a man in Antonio Tiny Richardson from Tennessee.
Tiny Richardson is the steal of undrafted free agency, and I am so excited to be able to talk about Tiny.
Injury concerns had him slide completely out of the draft.
Which is
some teams saw
crazy.
him. Many experts saw him as a 2nd to 3rd round prospect, and the fact that he fell completely out of the draft based on an injury concern is pretty unbelievable, considering that there are other players that suffered torn ACLs, multiple torn ACLs, and still got drafted in the 3rd to 4th round, when a guy like Antonio Richardson, who has all the physical tools to succeed at offensive tackle, gets passed on. He's going to be playing with a huge chip on his shoulder, and with the size of his shoulder, I'm sure he can carry a pretty large chip.
They call him Tiny in the most ironic sense possible. We're talking 6'6", 336 pounds offensive tackle. This is a mountain of a man. Between him and who was the other? David Yankee.
Oh yeah.
You talk about 2 really, really large guys on the offensive line. Charlie Johnson, how are you going to make the squad with these 2? I don't see it. Do you see it?
I'll tell you how. With $1.5 million of guaranteed money, that's the only thing that'll keep him on.
And I hope the new staff doesn't take any consideration for what his contract is and watches him get outplayed by either of these 2 guys.
Now, when Antonio Richardson was at Tennessee, he played a lot of left tackle, which, as you know, you have to be a dancing bear out there because you got some pretty intense pass rushers. On the right side, though, is where a lot of people are projecting Antonio Richardson to be the most effective as a road grading run blocker. But what's nice is that he has experience at both positions, and he could be, if healthy, the swing tackle that the Vikings have been looking for.
Yes. Like you said, he brings in versatility. He would be a good backup for Phil Lodeholt at that position, and maybe even an offensive line is not really an area where you want to have a rotation, but we know about Phil and getting penalized and whatnot, so maybe you can flex the 2 in and out a little bit and get good.
Hey, people can pull muscles every once in a while.
Yep.
Get a stinger, something like that, and have to go out for a play or 2 or even a series. And I think Antonio Richardson, if healthy, would be able to step in and take that position without it really a problem.
I love it. This is the kind of signing, like, man, this is why preseason is fun. It's just...
And you know he was one of the most hotly contested free agents that went undrafted.
The fact that
and Minnesota somehow got him.
The fact that he went undrafted it's nuts to me. But I'm glad that he's a Minnesota Viking and cannot wait to see how the dynamic between him and David Yankee and the rest of the linemen shake out. Because you talk about having some big guys up there blocking up front for AP to run all day. Wow, that's just exciting.
It is. And the last offensive lineman that the Vikings got through the undrafted free agent system was Austin Wentworth, the guard from Fresno State. There will definitely be competition for him there. I don't see him really advancing very far with all the depth that the Vikings have at guard. But either way, like I said, a camp body that could be on the practice squad, maybe turn into something, who knows.
A lot of the signings, you got to look at it twofold. Is that, yes, you're looking for guys for training camp, but you're also looking for guys for the freak injuries that may potentially happen midway through the season, and then you've got to pluck a guy out and plug him right into your roster. And that's where some of these guys they're looking at. You want to get familiar with them, even if they don't make your roster. They're on your short list of emergency guys that you can pull out if something was to happen during regular season.
Absolutely. The only other offensive player that was taken for that was given a contract as an undrafted free agent was running back Dominique Williams, and you have no idea how hard it is not to say Dominique Wilkins.
I don't know, but I will take your word for it.
Oh, you don't know the human highlight reel Dominique Wilkins? Come on.
I don't. I don't have a single clue what you are talking about right now, Adam. Who the hell is he?
Must not have watched much basketball in the 90s.
No.
But I honestly don't know much about Dominique Williams, and I know that, like I said, competition is going to be key. Practice squad, maybe, we'll see.
It's a human.
And I'll try not to rhyme anymore.
Human highlight reel was Bo Jackson.
No.
Yeah, Bo Jackson.
Dominique Wilkins, man.
I'm not a basketball fan at all, so.
And the other four signings as the undrafted free agents were all, surprise, defensive linemen.
It's like we have a head coach who knows a thing or two about defense.
That was Rakeem Cox from Villanova, Tyler Scott from Northwestern, Jake Snyder from Virginia, and Isame Fasciane from Florida International. Well, that rounds out all our undrafted free agents.
Mm-hmm.
Had a nice talk about all of them. Like I said earlier, and what I've been following all day today was definitely the news of Super Bowl 52.
We got our timetable, folks. We got our timetable for when the team needs to stop rebuilding and start being damn good.
Absolutely. I'm so far very, very excited with the response from the players and the community about how Minnesota went forth and got this bid and got it approved. I'm actually really thrilled. Like I said, I'm already saving money because I want to be there. There's already been people talking about how they want Prince at halftime, but I don't think they really get to pick that.
I don't know how that gets chosen either, but I would like to see Prince at halftime.
Well, who wouldn't? Prince is the man.
Maybe.
As long as he doesn't sing that Vikings song, because that's not... I like Prince, but that song about the Vikings just isn't very good.
Yeah, I'm hoping maybe that he would do part of the soundtrack from Tim Burton's '89 Batman film. I just brought this back full circle to the beginning.
You want Bat Dance?
Yeah! Why not?
No Bat Dance. We want Purple Rain,
That was horrible. I absolutely hate the soundtrack that Prince did for Burton's Batman film.
Hey, not everyone can make gems all the time. But that's all I have for this week. Do you have anything else you'd like to add?
No, I think when we start talking about Prince, it's a good time to wrap up the show.
Yeah, we've already been talking about way too much Batman and
Godzilla
and 90s NBA references. This has gotten a little bit wacky
But
here.
you can never have enough Batman. Never.
Yeah, you can.
No, never enough.
Especially if it's the newer Batmans.
Christian Bale. We do a Christian Bale Bat voice.
No, Michael Keaton is Batman.
Michael Keaton is Batman. You were 100% correct.
But let's close off
Okay.
the show, then we can argue Batman all we
Yeah.
want. People will be like, oh, well, at least that's done. But I'd like to thank everyone for listening. The Purple People Podcast. Check us out on Facebook. Twitter is at Purple People Pod. Check out my work and the other writers' work on the Viking Age.